Hello and welcome back to another very exciting episode of Young Cute Girls Doing Young Cute Things. I'm your host, Pushing 30. Start the review, that was horrible. If you've never played the Shantae series before, then you're missing out on quite the treat. This lesser-known franchise created by WayForward is a Metroid-inspired action title that has the incredible ability of not having a bad game in like the 5 entries thus far. The third game, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse, is often considered the best of the series, with the 4th entry, Half-Genie Hero, being great, but just barely not quite as good. This leads us to the most recent Shantae title, Shantae and the Seven Sirens. Does WayForward pull it off again and make another great entry in the series, or is this finally the first bad Shantae game? Let's find out. Something I think needs to be pointed out about Seven Sirens is that this title was first released on Apple Arcade about 9 months before it was released on all other platforms. While obviously a paid promotion from Apple, I really hope this was financially worth it for WayForward, because I genuinely never heard anything about the title until its most recent releases in the quote-unquote real gaming sphere. The copy of Seven Sirens that you'll see in this video is the Switch version, but I've heard that all the ports seem to operate pretty close to one another, so I wouldn't worry about the differences there. The premise this time around is that Shantae and her friends are attempting to take a vacation on an island resort. While there, the party meets up with several other half-genies, just like Shantae herself, which is incredibly rare to find in this world. When all of the girls decide to put on a dance show, all of the half-genies are kidnapped, besides Shantae, because, well, there wouldn't be a game if she was captured. Funny enough, the game actually does poke fun at the convenience of this, making comments alluding to the fact that at least someone gets to have an adventure this time around. This tongue-in-cheek meta-humor is littered throughout the game. A lot of the writing is genuinely really funny. There are some jokes that are a bit cringy, like a guy trying to discover if seashells of a mermaid's bra is actually the bra, or if it's like part of the mermaid itself. However, even these awkward moments can turn into something genuinely funny when all of the seashells you bring back actually belonged to a sea cow. Meta-humor can contain little moments like even poking fun at the fact that Shantae's transformation ability is never utilized for something valuable, like just turning into a key to unlock a door that you can't get past. Like, seriously, of all the creatures that you would change into in order to reach higher places, you choose a monkey? How about a dragon, idiot? The complete presentation package continues with the bright and colorful art style, alongside the goofy and exaggerated illustrations, environments, and enemy designs. There's a really well-crafted cohesion here, as every bit of the visuals perfectly matches the tone of each chapter. This continues into the animation department, as each action is rendered in such a way to be charming, cute, hilarious, or just completely bonkers. All of the enemies' actions are snappy, and their attacks really pop out from the background and surrounding environments. There is a pretty substantial issue with the animations, though. Unfortunately, a large portion of enemy attacks have no telegraph, and instead just happen instantly and without warning. This prevents any opportunity of counterplay against an enemy the first time the player comes across them, and this can include many boss mechanics. Shantae and the Seven Sirens very clearly get some of its inspiration from titles like Mega Man, Castlevania, and Metroid, but something the game evidently missed was providing the player an adequate chance to see most attacks coming. Thankfully, this problem is mitigated pretty severely by the fact that the game just isn't difficult at all, and healing supplies are very plenty. Another aspect that helps reduce any level of frustration is how wonderfully tight the controls are. If I may, I want to reuse the adjective snappy that I used earlier. The controls for Shantae are incredibly snappy. Every input feels immediate, and the sound effects are subtle, but impactful enough to make everything just feel right. Navigating through enemies, around platforms, hitting enemies quickly while dodging in the air, everything always felt as if the game responded to every command adequately. When I tell Shantae to jump, she says how high, and that's just the perfect non-abusive relationship that she and I share. I noticed that the hitbox on Shantae's hair, which is her primary attack, can be awkward at times though. It's as if the hitbox only exists at the very tip of the attack. Quite a few moments throughout my playthrough I would miss an enemy with several attacks in a row, despite feeling like every time should have been a hit. Yet, This problem again is mitigated pretty well by another system, buying upgrades in this case. You can upgrade Shantae's attacks for more damage and attack speed, in which case you just happen to not notice the missing as much when you attack faster. The hitbox on her attacks still feels overly precise, and while upgrading the speed of inputs is nice, this just shouldn't be an issue that needs solving, but I guess I'm glad it's there. Navigation throughout the game world in Shantae and the Seven Sirens is a mix of Metroid-style map layout crossed with a bit of Zelda dungeon inspiration here. You'll navigate in a grid-based system that certain paths are locked off until later upgrades can be equipped. Unfortunately, during my playtime through the game, I couldn't find a way to sequence break anything, so it's definitely not quite on the par of creativity as some Metroid maps. It is still incredible though. I mean, Metroid is a rather high bar, but I just figured I'd use that for comparison. The Metroid inspiration may also ring the idea of backtracking to your mind, and it should, because well, that always happens in literally every Metroid game ever, and it happens here too. The pacing of the backtracking is pretty good though, as I never felt really frustrated ever by retracing my steps, or feeling like the game was just padding to inflate my playtime. Instead, it felt like I was returning back to old areas I couldn't reach before. After finishing areas of the map, you'll unlock a dungeon, in which case you'll solve puzzles and combat scenarios in order to receive keys, which you'll use to further progress. These dungeons are the best part of the game, as all of the creativity seems heavily focused on these sections. All bosses are unique, and each environment presents new and innovating ways to use your powers. Oh yeah, Shantae gets abilities throughout the game. These can range from being able to see invisible objects, rejuvenating dead land, or drilling through the dirt. My favorite is the ability to dash, which provides added mobility, can be used offensively to cause damage, and can also be used defensively for a few frames. And if you hit a wall, you can cling to it and have the ability to climb. What brilliant animal does Shantae turn into to take advantage of all of this? A newt. An actual newt. Remember what I said earlier, Shantae, about the dragon idea? Idiot. Something I did notice is that power progression seems rather jumpy, as I didn't really feel all that stronger until like right at the end of the game. Once the final set of abilities were unlocked and my items were fully upgraded, the gameplay was at its peak. Suddenly, I had an answer to every solution, but this period of time felt incredibly brief and rather extreme compared to the lack of power I had felt the majority of the time. More impact on certain abilities could have made this pacing work out better, or perhaps even rearranging the unlock order could have done the trick. Providing more options for items to purchase could help, especially ones that have a greater effect on gameplay. The final piece of this genie puzzle that I want to say just briefly is about how great the soundtrack is. Every corner you turn, there seems to be a track that is just better than the last. So much imagination is poured into each song, and the range of nostalgic arrangements, along with newer and original ideas, turns this into a soundtrack that I have been listening to on the side on its own. A major surprise to me was to find out that this was the first Shantae game in which Jake Kaufman was not involved in the music process. He wasn't available for the project, and yet I could have sworn this style was his work. The game's soundtrack definitely keeps that same style that WayForward is known for, and I want to give a huge props to the music team for their incredible work. Overall, Shantae and the Seven Sirens is a great time that taps into the nostalgia of titles like Metroid and Mega Man, while also providing something new, funny, and honest to the Shantae series. The experience doesn't necessarily excel in any particular area, but it's a consistently great experience from start to finish. To fans of the Shantae series, and to those who may be wondering if this is a good starting point, I want to end on this comment. Shantae and the Seven Sirens serves as the perfect entry point into the franchise, and it's also the best adventure Shantae has had to date across all 5 of her games. Thank you so much for watching my review of Shantae and the Seven Sirens. If you liked the video, please hit the like button, or else I'll know that you always hated me. And if you want to see more, please hit the subscribe button, or I'll know that you despise me so much you made it to the video and you never want to see me again. Understandable. Again, I hope you enjoyed, I hope you found something useful or at least entertaining. I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!